Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. We bring you greetings from RICHMO Media. Beloved, it's indeed another brightest day that the good Lord has given unto us. And if we are among the living, we need to rejoice and be glad in it. For it is only the will of God and the wish of God that we will have perfect health. We will have perfect health. And that is what we stand for. Maintaining the good health that God has given to us is our priority. So once again, we want to welcome each and every individual watching us around the world to RICHMO Media Health Issues this afternoon. Before we begin today's presentation, we want to introduce the topic to us all. Our topic for discussion today is preventive measures of stroke, or how to prevent ourselves from stroke. When we talk about stroke, what goes into stroke? What are the possible causes of stroke? What are some of the early signs of stroke? How can we prevent ourselves from the word stroke? And what at all constitutes about stroke? These are what we will be going through this afternoon. Today, we have a special guest with us. When it comes to things concerning health, she's one of our resource person that we can contact. We have no other person than Dr. Nash. So, Dr. Nash, you are humbly welcome to RICHMO Media Health Issues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And hello, everyone who has taken your most precious time, to be here with us, but yet to discuss this important topic on stroke and how you can prevent it. Before we continue, I'd just like to open with a word of prayer. Father and our God, we come before you at this time asking for your continued presence to be with us in our discussion. Please enlighten our minds so that we would be able to understand and make changes where changes need to be made. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. So God bless you. So our viewers, as we prepare ourselves from Barbara Hansen, he's welcoming us, and Sister Elsie Jones said, welcome, Dr. Nash. So Dr. Nash, as our viewers and our listeners requested for this topic, they are very ready. So our viewers and our listeners, what we want you to do is that before Dr. Nash starts the presentation, if you are alone watching us, we humbly ask that you subscribe to the RICHMO Media Health Issues channel, share the link for others to also join, because this topic is much particular and is of concern, especially in our modern era. Then also, if you have any question as the presentation is ongoing, you can just type in the comment box. We will see it and also ask on your behalf. This is what we wish for, and we know we will have a lovely presentation today. So, Dr. Nash, please, your viewers and your listeners around the world is ready for the presentation on preventive measures of stroke. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so we're looking at preventative measures for stroke. And, so many times I see individuals with conditions, and when you look at the cause, it comes from some habit, some lifestyle practice, some dietary preference that is triggering a condition that you are experiencing. I want to tell you that it's no fun being unwell. And certainly, if you were to get a stroke, that can be life-changing for so many. Some live to tell their story. Some do not live to tell their story. It can take your life. It's that serious. And then some live with debilitating conditions, and they live for many years later on. And their quality of life, the way of life is now different. It has changed, and whether they have mobility or not. And so these are all the factors that we need to consider today as we contemplate, what we need to put into our lives, and what action we need to take in order to prevent a stroke. It is preventable. It doesn't just happen, like a shooting star across the sky. So let's look at some stats. I pulled up a world view picture about stroke and the cause of death rate for 100 per 100,000, and as that was measured across the world. And every spot on that map where you see red, there's a high incidence of individuals dying from stroke. The gray parts are people where they do better. They don't get strokes and they don't die from them. And you can look up this. It's on worldlifeexpectancy.com, and you can find that information there. Now, I sort of just pulled up the first 10 countries, but it goes on for a whole lot more of other countries that will share in this information. And, here we see some African countries all listed there. And if you were to, and I think I can even drop this link in the chat so that those who are able will pull it up and have a thorough view and find your country and see what the incidence of death from stroke is there. So let's move on, and we're looking at stroke. What is a stroke? It is a medical emergency. When you get a stroke, it's not now, at that time, it's not like all about confession to say, I'm going to eat some fruit today. I'm going to go to the vegetables. I'm going to leave off the cheese. I'm going to stop drinking today. We want that. But in the midst of you having a stroke, it's a medical emergency. And so do go to your local healthcare provider, the closest ER to you, to get the help that you need, because time is of the essence in terms of getting to a medical facility so that they can support you there. So it is where you find that the blood supply to the brain is interrupted. It's actually reduced, and it can lead to cell death in that area. And so those cells in the spot area where you get the stroke, say like in the picture there, you see that that red spot, the center core area. If there's a clot in that area that's preventing the blood supply, then the cells in that area, it's going to die. And what you find is that the areas of the body that those cells would have sent commands to, or have reception into the brain for communication and for function of the body, that area might be impacted. And that's why you find that individuals with a stroke may not be able to move their hand because the communication has been broken. There is no more of the life support to the cells that will be able to communicate on both ends, receiving or giving. And so the cells can also lack nutrients. And so over time, you find that the debilitation can become stronger. Now, there are different types of stroke. And it depends. Some folks have simple mini strokes that doesn't really take them down, but their medical report would show that you have had a stroke. So what kind is that? Let's have a look. Ischemic. So an ischemic stroke, and if you look on the picture, it's the last diagram there, the last circle. That is caused by a blockage in an artery that supplies the blood to the brain. And it accounts for about 87% of all strokes. So the arteries being blocked, and because that area of the brain, the arteries leading to that part of the brain is being blocked, and it's not getting oxygen, it's not getting nutrients, and that life support isn't there. So that can be a stroke for you. Person holds the head, they fall, situation is progressing. Then another type is the hemorrhagic stroke, and this one is very serious. This one tends to take the life because you're bleeding out, and it's caused by a ruptured blood vessel to the brain. And it can, you see that brain, that's a middle picture there, it pops, that vessel pops, it bursts, and aneurysm can lead to that. And therefore, that one is a very serious one. Sometimes folks don't survive from that one because once you have the bleeding, then there's swelling in the brain. You find that there's pressure build up and whole lots of complications. And then you have also in the picture, there's one atherosclerosis, and we will look at that shortly. But there's another type of stroke called a transient ischemic attack, and that is where you have a mini stroke, and there may be some blockage that sort of reduces the blood flow to the brain. And if you look on the next slide, you would see it's described as having blood clots. So the TIA, or transient ischemic attack, is where you have that blood clot that may have traveled from some other area of the body and now finds itself into the brain and causes a blockage in the blood flow. Then you also may have air bubbles in that blood vessels, and you may have fatty material. The blood itself is fatty, it's thick. And so these can be different causes. The atherosclerosis, I wonder, okay, I'll deal with it now. It's where you have plaque buildup in your arteries. So there is a real thing where, okay, it's coming up later on too. So you have the plaque buildup in those arteries that service the brain, and it narrows the space that is available for the blood to flow through. What is that plaque? It's cholesterol deposits. And so your cholesterol is high, and it starts to pack up on the inner lining of your arteries and narrowing that space to send blood flow to whatever part of the body. This time it's the head, it's the brain. And that can be a contributory factor to certain spots of the brain not having adequate blood supply. Now, there are risk factors that may contribute to the incidence of individuals likely to have a stroke. And so let's look at some non-modifiable risks. So age, for example, as you get older, you have more conditions that is part of you. Your habits and practices would have lingered with you for so many years, and now it's ready to show up because you weren't doing things so right. So age tends to come along with the risk of stroke. Then the gender, males tend to have a higher risk than females. Your family history, you may have a genetic predisposition where strokes are in the family. Again, your diet and lifestyle that very much contributes to this. I want to let you know that your DNA is reprogrammable. So if it is that you think that you had everyone in your family seems to be getting strokes, what you do in terms of your preferences for your diet and your lifestyle practices can delay the onset of a stroke, can prevent you from getting a stroke when everyone else around you is having that. And then your race, there's a higher incidence in African Americans or folks of African descent. And you just look at the stats in our chart that we started off looking at, our world chart, and you would see. And if you go down the list of the countries, you find that you'd see where the high-risk populations are. Then let's look at some modifiable risks. You have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, if you have high cholesterol levels, if you have obesity, if you have a sedentary lifestyle, you're not physically active, and you're not exercising on a regular basis, smoking and consumption of alcohol, that can, and I want to interject even caffeine, can contribute to you having a higher risk of getting strokes. So we look at the symptoms, how stroke can affect the body. When individuals get a stroke, you may feel some pain in the head. It's because of the blood not getting to certain parts, and that can cause some spasms and reactions that results in you feeling pain. Then there's a blurred vision. Okay, someone needs to mute the mic, please. Check your microphone. So then you have blurred vision, paralysis, where you find your hands, you don't have the free mobility, weakness, loss of coordination. You're trying to reach and to pick up something, but it seems so difficult to do. Trouble speaking, there's a slurred speech, the face drooping, confusion in the brain. So these common symptoms, there's a sudden numbness or weakness in the face, in the arm, or your leg, especially on one side of the body. It's my right side. I'm getting all these kinds of effects on my left side. And then there's sudden confusion. You're speaking things out of context that doesn't make sense. And everyone around you is going to be in such a quandary, wondering what is happening to you. There is confusion in the mind. You're not clear. You just came from one area of the room, and just for you to go back, it seems difficult. You're lost. You have difficulty speaking, so that slurred speech. You're speaking, but everything seems to be dragging the words, and you may not even be opening your mouth to speak up clearly, or understanding information speech. Then there could be sudden trouble of seeing in one or both eyes where the vision is impaired. I had a family member who suffered a stroke. It was in the mid portion of the brain, and that affected her vision so much that she was not able to see. And it was, amazing that we were just engaging with you like about an hour ago, and everything was fine. And then now she's just telling us that she couldn't see. And it was unbelievable. What do you mean you cannot see? Yes, I can't see. I'm not seeing. And you're right in front of her face, pass your hand in front, and she's not seeing. And but the stroke had taken place. And then you have sudden trouble walking. You find that you put a foot forward and it seems to be slanting to another direction on the side. And you're doing that, but if you need help, someone to hold you, or else you can fall. There can be dizziness, a loss of balance, or a lack of coordination just to do stuff. And then there could be this sudden headache for an unknown cause. So let's look at these symptoms that you may see, and you got to act fast. All right, so there's this acronym called FAST, where the face is drooping. You kind of like look out for those classical signs. FAST: face, arm, speech, and it's time, emergency. All right, so face drooping. You see the face twisted to a side. Sometimes you might take out a picture with someone, of someone, and then when you're looking at the picture, you can literally see the face, the A side. The person may have suffered a stroke and not know, and or in the midst of it. So the face is on the side, and then you find that the arm, there's weakness. Just to lift the arm, there's a weakness. The speech, again, with difficulties in terms of speaking as well as understanding. And then if these are like the classical signs, if these things are happening, don't look for more. Call emergency or go to emergency and get help immediately. So let us have a look at prevention. Prevention is in the course. When you think about a disease condition, what is the cause? Why is this person having a stroke? Why did this person have a stroke? What caused it? Is it preventable? The answer, you tell me at the end, is it preventable? So what are the causes that we need to look at? So now, number one, high blood pressure. Individuals would need to be testing their blood pressure. I've had folks who have said, I've gone to a health fair and I decided, just let me test my blood pressure. And it was elevated. And for the first time, they start to pay attention and they see it consistently elevated. They have high blood pressure. So do make sure that you get tested. Why is it important, if you have high blood pressure, that you take care of yourself so that you have your blood pressure in normal ranges? Is because if it is high, it can lead to the incidence of having a stroke. And let me give you, usually a normal blood pressure should be anywhere like less than 120 over 80. Less than 120 over 80. If your blood pressure runs up into higher ranges, anywhere like 140 and above, this is the systolic, the upper number, or even worse yet, 180 and above. Your blood pressure is like in the 200s and some, over any number higher than 120. Say a blood pressure reading of 215 over 130. That can lead into the person getting a stroke. So you want to make sure that you keep your blood pressure within normal range, less than 120 over 80, or close to that as possible. Now, hypertensive, if you have high blood pressure, you're 3 more times likely to have a heart attack, 5 times more likely to develop heart failure, and 8 times, more likely to suffer a stroke than people with normal blood pressure. These are some serious, findings here. And if you have even diabetes, which show you that diabetes can contribute to this as well. Having high blood pressure can, again, lead to diabetes, eye problems, and kidney disease. So you got to watch. High blood pressure is not something to play with or take lightly. And take care of yourself. Do what is necessary to get your blood pressure within normal range. Now, let us seek for normal blood pressures less than 120. If you're on medication, then you need to take your medication. If you're doing natural remedies, then do natural remedies. I have seen people where they are placed on medication by their primary healthcare physician, and they elect not to take the medication, and they do nothing. Okay, so what are you doing? Nothing. What do you mean you're doing nothing? You got to be doing something. You just cannot allow your day after day to continue, and you're not having some intervention. So for those who would choose to use natural remedies, to get their blood pressure down by using hawthorn berries or, the flaxseed or walnuts, things to keep your blood vessels nice, make sure you're doing something. Diet. What's your salt intake? A lot of folks use too much salt. I've seen folks putting salt, having the salt shaker on the table, and you're shaking that in your food every meal. And then there's a habit where folks like to take their salt and put it in their water, every water, and they're drinking this. You will be hardening your blood vessels, that making them less pliable. They can become brittle. Don't do that. Salt, we need it, but use your salt in moderation. Use it in your cooking of your food, not at every opportunity you're popping salt. Okay, that's too much. Then eat a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Dealing with high blood pressure is a whole other topic. So we're just hitting a couple points here. And then exercise, engage in regular physical activities, especially walking for at least 60 minutes daily. Make it 1 hour in order to help with your situation. Eliminate alcohol, caffeine, and tobacco. The next one of a preventable measure is to reverse your diabetes. We don't need to have high glucose levels, but normal glucose levels. The American Journal of Medical Sciences found, and they published this article, Diabetes and Stroke. And they looked at, the study, and the outcome showed us that diabetes causes various microvascular, small blood vessels and larger blood vessels changes, often culminating in major clinical complications, one of which is stroke. And then it also goes on to say, the different types of stroke that we talked about. Individuals with diabetes are especially susceptible to the consequences of the brain small blood vessels. Hypoglycemia confers greater risk of stroke incidence. Hypoglycemia meaning if you are diabetic, having or running high blood sugar, it gives a greater risk of stroke incidence. So the diabetes can cause damage to your blood vessels, the small micro ones or the bigger blood vessels. And that can be a leading cause of stroke. Diabetics, I've seen it where you can have stroke. Now we're talking about the brain. Let me just let you know that this is a brain attack. Okay, you've heard about heart attack. A stroke is a brain attack. So the same preventable causes for your brain attack will be the same preventable causes for your heart attack. So pay attention that you prevent heart attack as well. So lower your blood pressure, lower your blood sugar, get it within normal range. And your normal range of glucose control, you should be looking for anywhere of having a, let me see, looking for the millimole comparative. So you want to see some measures will tell you like less than 99. Less than 99, and then we also want to look at having Yeah, so your blood glucose level normal will be between 65 to 99 milligrams per deciliter. And for millimole, it would be 3.6 to 5.5 millimole per liter. That's normal. And if you are diabetic, you're looking at 126 milligrams per deciliter and above, or 7 millimole per liter and above. And that's after an 8-hour glucose fasting. So you want to have within normal range your blood sugar, and then have regular checkups for your HbA1c. That's your measure over a 3-month average, over a 3-month period. And that can give you an idea about how you're doing with your glucose levels in your blood. Reducing, you want to reduce your risk of stroke. Now, let's look at cholesterol. Does cholesterol have anything to do with it? It sure does. Cholesterol is normal to the body, okay? We need cholesterol for varied bodily functions. What we don't need is an excessive amount of cholesterol in our bloodstream. You don't want to have high amounts. So here you look at atherosclerosis. That can be a cause for a stroke. If you see the picture there, it shows the plaque buildup in the blood vessels, and it's actually narrowing the space for the blood to flow through. That yellow deposit on either side is blocking up that artery there in the head. And atherosclerosis is that thickening of cholesterol deposits in the lining of your blood vessels. So the Stroke Foundation of Australia, they published, a lot of resources for stroke, and they looked at cholesterol lowering to prevent another stroke. So they were actually looking at individuals who suffered a stroke before, and how do you prevent another stroke from taking place? So if you think stroke is in your family, it's preventable. If you had one stroke before and you made no changes to your diet, to your lifestyle, you will very likely suffer another stroke. So here they're looking at the stats. How could you prevent another stroke from happening? And it says that high cholesterol is linked to blood clots and a higher risk of stroke. Research shows that lowering cholesterol can lower the risk of another stroke by 20%. So imagine if you lowered your cholesterol levels, got it within normal, your chance of getting another stroke is lowered by 20%. What about if you did even better than the average person? Then you reduce your risk even further. They showed a nice diagram here where, if your LDL, and that's something you need to watch, if your LDL rose above 110, this is your low density lipoprotein, if it rose above 110 milligrams per deciliter, then your risk of stroke was too high. Getting another stroke, somewhere mid-range. And so what you're looking for is to let your LDL level go below 70 milligrams per deciliter, or less than 1.8 millimoles per deciliter. And that would reduce your risk of getting a further stroke. So what do we do with cholesterol? Let's have a look at our diet. One of the main causes of cholesterol is from a dietary standpoint, and therefore you want to lower your saturated fat intake. Ideally, you get a lot of saturated fat in your animal foods and their byproducts, but you can get saturated fat in your coconut. So let's not overdo in our coconut usage when we're preparing food. Trans fat contributes to cholesterol, or just foods that contain cholesterol. Read your labels and have choose better. So essentially, you want to go on a total plant diet. You want to eliminate flesh. If you know you've had a stroke, do not my advice to you is stop eating the fish, the chicken, your turkey, your lamb, your goat, the pork, the crab, the lobster, the shrimp, your animal milk, your cheese, all of your animal products, your ice cream, the butter. Remove those things from your diet so that you reduce your risk of getting another stroke. If folks who have had mini strokes, you may have all of your mobility, but you are already at risk. You have some damage in your brain where there's some dark areas in your brain that's not working. And so you want to watch your diet carefully. And then you can use things like omega-3 fatty acids through your flaxseed, 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. You've got to blend that flaxseed, or 4 walnuts a day. That is going to help you to have nice free-flowing blood supply. Increase your fiber intake in your food. Animal foods and their byproducts have 0 fiber, but they have lots of cholesterol in them. So you want to make an adjustment to your diet and have that which would be helpful to you. Look at your medications again. If you're placed on medication, you've got to be taking something to help to lower your cholesterol levels. Diet and lifestyle, if it's held tightly, can do it. But again, folks who are on medication, statin drugs, they have a lot of side effects with them. So get information to make a sensible choice. If you choose not to use that cholesterol lowering medication, which I would recommend that you seek to get it, your situation corrected through your diet and your lifestyle. And there are a couple herbal agents that you may be able to utilize. Then regularly check yourself. You're looking for your total cholesterol to be less than 150 milligrams per deciliter, or less than your LDL level to be less than 180. And we saw even in our chart above that should come down even like within the 70s for better results. There's this photo of an angiogram by a doctor who was a cardiologist, Dr. Joseph Crow. And his blood vessels, if you look at the A chart and the B, it shows here, you see where that bracket is on the A, how narrow and shriveled up it is? Why? The image shows that there is some narrowing of the blood vessels that's taking place right there in that artery. It's narrowed because it's not all clear as in the B portion, because there's some buildup of plaque deposits in that, as compared to the B area. After he had done some changes to his diet, he did not even use any cholesterol lowering medication, just diet and exercise. After 32 months, was able to get his arteries nice and clear. Isn't that hope for you today to understand more that cholesterol is reversible? Cholesterol plaque is reversible. You can prevent its buildup, and by making changes, you can clean up those arteries. Take a look at the next picture. That carotid artery here that serves the brain. Look at it. It should be nice and clear as an upper picture, but it is all, you have the plaque buildup all there and in that picture below. So what you find is that the plaque buildup in those arteries on the side of your neck, that can be an indicator of what's going on in your arteries in other areas of your body. But at the same time, the surgery could be done to remove that and to allow the blood flow to the brain to be better. And so finding out, making sure you're testing and taking care of yourself is important. Now, let's have a look at weight, obesity. We want to look at obesity here, maintain a healthy weight. So when we're maintaining a healthy weight, the World Stroke Organization, they actually looked at overweight as being one of the top 10 risk factors for stroke and is associated with almost 1 in 5 strokes. That's huge. For every 5 strokes, one of those individuals will be overweight. And then it's categorized as being categorized as overweight. It will increase your risk of stroke by 22%. And if you are obese, even greater, increasing your risk by 64%. Being overweight is a condition that is preventable and can be worked on to reduce your weight and reduce your risk of getting a stroke that can be leading you to a big problem, a stroke. So let us take the weight seriously. Don't be comfortable with your overweight. Seek to do what you need to do. Get up in the morning. I have to exercise. It's not an option. I need to do it to save my life. And the thing is, by being overweight, you shorten your lifespan because your risk of stroke, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cholesterol, all of these are debilitating conditions that just can mushroom and become overwhelming over time and can lead to emergency situations where you had the controls in your hand all along, and now you have to depend on a medical provider where you may not be top priority for them, or it might very well be too late to save you. So let's reduce the weight. Let's work on diet and lifestyle, and aim for at least 60 minutes a day, and go on a total plant diet. What about smoking? We want to avoid smoking, and individuals who smoke or those who are around them and getting secondhand smoke, their risk of getting a stroke is increased. So quit smoking. Choose to get into a smoking program, a cessation program, where you will have some interventions to help you to stop smoking. By choice, determining in your mind, I want to stop, I need to stop, I have to stop. And then if you are in a space and environment where folks are smoking around you all the time, then see how best possible you could avoid being there, because inhaling that smoke can be detrimental to you as well. Let's look at exercise. We want to exercise regularly. The National Library of Medicine, they put forward a PubMed report where they said that physical activity and exercise favorably modify your risk factors, including hypertension, dyslipidemia, diabetes, sedentary lifestyle, obesity, excessive alcohol consumption, and tobacco use. So physical activity, when you engage in exercise, in movement, your risk of getting a stroke reduces, and even other lifestyle conditions will be impacted as well. You would lower your blood pressure, your diabetes, your cholesterol levels, etc. So what do? Make sure you're walking and have aerobic exercise at least 60 minutes a day. Movement is very important. You find that individuals who may be bedridden, that you need to move their limbs for them, because just by staying there, laying in one position too long, of day after day, night after night, can create blood clots in their system. That's why you'd find that they may be administered blood thinning medication. And some people don't take their medication. I've had individuals who've come here to the center and they're on medication, blood thinning medication, and I see that the individual isn't moving. You're not getting up and moving. You're laying in the bed, and folks have to bring things to you. You may sit up, walk from the bed to the bathroom, and that's it. You got to get up and come, let's go walk. You got to do things. And I would insist, take your blood thinning medication. If you're not doing anything else, make sure and do that, because I don't want the person to develop a blood clot under my hand. So it's important for movement. And the individuals who by choice sit down and lay down too long, too often, you have some folks, they're young in age, but they're lying down all day long on the TV, on the media, or whatever. Disease is just building up in your system. So you also want to incorporate strength training, where you just walking can help you build your strength. I see folks, they would go to sit down and they would just drop themselves in the seat. And it's because their legs are weak, and I would say, don't do that. Try and hold on to something and sit down gently, because you're putting that impact and you can hurt your spine and create other issues. So by walking and having, strength bearing exercises for your arms, for your legs, will strengthen those limbs so that you will be able to have good mobility. Diet and stroke prevention. This is very huge, and that diet helps a whole lot in terms of getting it right and preventing stroke. If you don't get a diet corrected, you can be eating stuff that will trigger stroke in your system over time. So here the research shows, Stroke Association of the UK, that adding a portion of fruit and vegetables to your diet daily can reduce the risk of a stroke by up to 10%. And every extra portion, who loves food and healthy food? Every extra portion that you eat reduces your risk even further. And then the advice comes in that you eat at least 5 servings of fruit and vegetables. I want that. You use the palm of your hand like a serving size. You eat apples, eat 5 apples. Yeah, that can fill your belly, okay? But you have other food to eat. If you're eating mangoes, oranges, bananas, you want, to have at least 5 servings. Your vegetables now come into play here by eating your carrots and your cauliflower and your greens and so forth. Just eating those things. And the more portions you have, the lower your incidence of stroke. You reduce your risk even lower and lower. It's by having these foods. They are good fiber. They tend to cause your body to excrete, to defecate any excess cholesterol in your system, in your blood, as well as now you're not putting in, you can be freely using your fruits and vegetables. There's 0 cholesterol in them. Even your avocado helps to lower cholesterol. Your nuts and seeds, they're not snack. They are foods that contain lots of minerals that you need to benefit from. But again, folks love certain nuts. You don't want to overdo. So a close handful of your nuts or your seeds, like a pumpkin seed, your sesame seeds, and your sunflower seeds, etc., at the end of your meal, at the end of breakfast, at the end of lunch, will be enough for your day to help you to lower your risk of stroke. So key point when it comes to diet, look on your plate. Is there anything in my plate that comes from animal? Yes, remove it. Is there anything in my plate that has a liver, has a mother? Remove it. Has a face? Remove it. and instead replace it with plant foods. You can't go wrong. So you want a total plant diet. You also want to have whole grains in your diet. So you're, instead of refined grains, so you're looking for your brown rice, your millet. Those are great options to have. Use your ground provisions as well. You have your eddos, your yam, your cassava, all of those ground provisions are great. And then limit sugar and salt. So you want to reduce, in fact, if you're using sugar that is processed, then that's wouldn't be a healthy option. You do have some good forms of sugar, like a raw cane sugar. You might have some coconut sugar, but in moderate amounts. And use honey, in moderation. And then your salt, watch your salt intake. You want to have healthy salt within your cooking. And then your fats, unsaturated fats, like your nuts, your avocados, your olives, olive oil. We don't cook with oil. Olive oil, if it is that you're using it as a base, just to like oil your pans and so forth. But we prefer to use olives instead of the olive oil in itself. So I tell folks, oil don't grow on trees. The coconut does, and the olives too. So eat those instead. But everything still in moderation, though it is healthy. And just wrapping up here quickly, we're just looking at some other modifiable risk. These are things that you can still have control over. Alcohol. A bottle of alcohol could be right here on my desk and I will never touch it. It's because I choose not to taste. Touch not and taste not. All right, so that's what your mantra needs to be when you see a bottle of alcohol. Touch not, taste not. And similarly for any cigarettes and caffeine in your energy drinks, your coffee, your tea, touch not, taste not. And then you have your stress levels. Stress can cause individuals to get a stroke. There would be individuals where they are sore, mad, and upset, or they are day after day worried about something in their lives. Maybe you're worried about your health diagnosis that doesn't please you, that's not pleasant. Maybe you're worried about some family member. Maybe you're worried about some land issue or money issues or so forth. Seek ways to manage that stress, to cope with it. There are some stressors where you can get rid of. You missed the bus. Well, so maybe it's for a reason, and walk instead, okay? If you did, it reduces your stress. But if there's some stressors where it's living with you, it's in your house, and it's agitating. One of the things to tell yourself is that if this thing is going to kill me, what do I want? Am I going to stress over it? No. And you choose not to. Say whatever the individual who's stressing you out could jump high and low, say all kinds of things. You have blinders, you have air blockers, you're not going to respond because you want to live. So whatever it is, find ways of reducing that stress because it can kill. I've seen individuals where they have had issues, even cancer, and because of stress in their life, that took them out instead with a heart attack, as opposed to the cancer that the individual had and other health challenges. So limit your sedentary lifestyle. We talked about physical activity. Sedentary and sitting down can kill you. It is a disease, just to do nothing. So stand every hour, move around. And so like when we finish this presentation, make sure you walk about a little bit. If you've been sitting, or please stand now. And then recognize the symptoms of a stroke. Act fast. Look at the face, the arms, the face. face, the arms, and the speech. And then it's time to call for help. And then monitor your heart rhythm. This is huge because a lot of sometimes people have their heart boop, 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 boop. You know, your heart doesn't feel right, your rhythm doesn't feel good. Don't be comfortable with it, or keep putting off that finding, keep putting off visiting your doctor, keep putting it off your tests. I've seen where folks would be recommended certain tests by their healthcare physician, and then they refuse to go for the test. And I would say, I would talk to you, but go to do your test first and then come back. Because let's not be guessing. What are we dealing with here? So check your heart rhythm. If there's problem there, it could be from a narrowed artery or blood vessel. You know, it's serious. And then have regular checkups. Look up for your high blood pressure. Are you having diabetes? What's the cholesterol levels like? You know, these simple little things. Go for your regular checkup at least once a year. Individuals neglect to do that, especially our men. They neglect to do it, and they don't, you know, they choose otherwise. They would stop smoking and everything else that we've talked about. I know of a gentleman who smoked for years, and then smoking is an addiction, and individuals will smoke pockets, you know, of every day, but you're putting yourself at risk for a stroke. And so this person that I know personally got a stroke. And what do you think? He doesn't smoke ever since. He couldn't, you know, literally do it for himself. The family had to take control of him and everything. But he's living for about more than 20 years still in a debilitated situation because of that stroke. You know, he could have had 20 plus more years to his life being mobile, moving around, doing things, enjoying life, attending every family event, and contributing physically. But, you know, he's nice and healthy looking now and so forth without the cigarette. So let's leave that out. And finally, look at your environment around you. All these are modifiable ways in which you have control today to help you to lead better health. So you have your air supply, make sure that's clean. Get your sunlight. Vitamin D deficiency is huge when it comes to heart-related issues or blood vessel-related issues, and as well as stroke. We talked about temperance in terms of your moderation with that which is good, and your harmful habits. Let's abstain from the coffee, tobacco, alcohol, caffeine. Rest, making sure no stress, but you rest, get your sleep, relax, take time out to relax, and to get your balance back in life during the day. Exercise, your diet, drinking water. A lot of folks do not drink enough water. Water tends to dilute high sugar in the body. Unless there's some people who cannot drink too much water, if you have kidney issues or congestive heart failure, you may be retaining fluid, then less water for you. But if you don't have those things going on, then make sure that you're drinking at least 6 glasses of water. You use that up in your day for your body activities. Then if you lose 6 and you put 6 only, then what is there for the other functions of the body? So let's aim to multiply that. Let's look for about anywhere 10, 12 glasses of water. And if you are unwell, you can have even more. Look to have more. And it's a habit to drink water and to be able to achieve getting more water within your system. And finally, trust God. All of our efforts to seek to have better health, it's of little input. God does a bigger work. And so the little bit that we do, the little interventions, staying on the right course by our choices, our lifestyle habits, and so forth, is what we would do. but trusting in God that He's going to take care of you. Don't live in fear of diseases. Do what you need to do, and He's going to take care. He's also going to bring healing. So we place ourselves in His hand, and we say, Lord, we have cooperated with you, and we ask for the healing, for the blessing to take place. So in summarizing, stroke is critical, and it can be a life-threatening condition. It's an emergency situation. Early detection is also possible, and to recognize the symptoms of a stroke and to get immediate medical attention can be helpful for better vital outcomes. And then prevention is key in preventing strokes. It is key when you implement your lifestyle habits and also your medical interventions, as you may have need to. So with that, it brings us to the end of our presentation, and I hope that this has been helpful and beneficial to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless you, Dr. Natalie Nash. Dr. Nash is a naturopathic doctor, a gospel medical missionary who is key interested in how holistically we can use natural approach in solving health issues and bringing people also back to God to build their faith. So no wonder at the end of the lesson, you realize that he is encouraging viewers and listeners and us all to have trust in God. And that's the only source of key to our healing. Doc, there are some questions for you, but we will go to the viewers. We realize Mr. Kwame Aglago said bonsoir, doctor. So this one is in the Francophone countries, and it's a greetings to Dr. Nash. Agri Lord Service said good lecture. And Sister Victoria said, thank you so much for this wonderful teachings. Thank you. God bless you, Dr. Nash, for this selfless presentation. Someone is asking that as you were presenting, there was a risk that someone might have stroke, recover, and if he goes back to the error, have relapse of stroke. Can there be a case when someone is having the stroke and at the same time have second stroke? That's a question from one viewer.
Right. It is possible. So as we understand the stroke to be a blockage within a particular area, there are multiple strokes that can happen to individuals. So within the same, you can have multiple strokes, one after the other. If it is, that as we saw the carotid arteries being clogged, if you have blood clots moving and it hits one or two places at the same time, I mean, nothing. We can't really say. I'm not sure if that has happened. I've seen multiple strokes, but for a particular individual, anything can play out. It all goes back to preventing what might be the contributors to a stroke outcome.
Thank you. So, a viewer and our listener who asked the question, yes, it's possible that if someone is having the stroke and he consistently follow the errors that brought the first episode of stroke, that folk can also develop stroke within stroke, and that is possible. Someone is asking that, look, we have had some theories out there that if you want strong bones, go and eat meat and chew meat and the rest. And in this presentation, there is a numbness of the lower limbs or the upper limbs and weakness of muscles. And per the plan, we are to go off all these things for these strong bones. What is your take to that? Thank you.
Okay, from a nutrition standpoint, we get strong bones. We need calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, manganese, minerals. we get that in large amounts in a plant source. In fact, folks would say, you know, take milk, animal milk, for your calcium, to get that dairy with calcium, eat the meat, calcium, protein, building cells, and so forth. But the number one source of calcium on the face of the earth is sesame seeds. And if you were to take 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds daily, it can help to improve your calcium levels and therefore your bones. So, to help with things like osteoporosis, bone degeneration, to help correct those things, use your sesame seeds, use your green leafy vegetables, which also contains good amounts of calcium that is that can be utilized by the body. Another thing now by eating the meat is that high protein content. If you don't have sufficient, if you don't have sufficient vitamin D as well as calcium in your body from other sources, your body can therefore start pulling calcium from your bones. So it's important that you have your leafy greens to make sure you have adequate calcium. You get greater amounts of calcium from plant sources, a wide variety of plant sources, than from any meat item, any flesh food.
Thank you. Thank you. And Doc, another question on the board says that you mentioned about exercise, particularly about brisk walking. There is this thing that is ongoing now that most people do their brisk walking indoors. So what's your take on the indoor exercise and the outdoor? Thank you.
Okay, indoor exercise can be quite good when you don't have an alternative. Indoor, you would need to open up your windows so that you get some fresh air. Folks would do indoor if it's raining, snowing, too early in the morning. For security purposes, they prefer, or they just want to be in the nightgown and do the exercise indoor. So whatever your reason, indoor can help. Still do something than nothing. Sometimes indoor may mean that they are looking at a screen and doing the exercise. So that can work very well. But outdoor it's phenomenal. Outdoor, you're free and you're moving and you're able to inhale fresh air, see different sights, take your mind off things that might be boggling you and as you relate to nature. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Nash. Thanks for your response to the questions our viewers ask. One is asking, Doc, please, can you help us in other time on how to reduce weight? I think you mentioned in your presentation, and there's another request today. How do you respond to this in another time? How to reduce weight? We want to hear from
Yeah.
you.
Okay. At some other point, we'll have to check for an opportunity to do that. Yeah.
Okay, so our listener or viewer who asked this, Doc we will link with Doc and we will find time and schedule for that lesson. Dr. Nash, God bless you for your selfless time and your selfless lesson. But viewers, if Dr. Nash is saying that you should take 10 glasses of water, especially those in Ghana, it doesn't mean take 10 sachets of pure water, which is 500 mils, but it will be like 5 sachets of pure water, which means one glass is equal to 250 mils, which is half glass or half pure water, which is 500. The full one is 500. So the half will be 250. That is what he means, so that we will not overload ourselves with water, because Doc said 10 glasses. So we are going for 10 glasses or 10 sachets of water. That is not the case. And you realize that Doc's presentation, he's stressing on it. Lifestyle, diet, lifestyle, diet, time. When it comes to stroke, time, because the earlier intervention, the good or the proper the outcome. But when we delay, then the poor the outcome. So, Doc, God bless you. If you want to
In
link
fact,
up with Doc,
just 1 second.
okay,
In
okay,
fact, for my clients, I advise them to do 12, seek to get 12 glasses of water, 8 ounces, 8 ounce glass of water on a daily basis. So here at the center, we give them bottles and we tell them aim to get 12 8 ounce glasses of water because you have disease conditions going on. So you want to really work with the body with that. It helps with detoxification, getting your blood. People tend to do way better once they improve on their water intake.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. So, Doc based in Trinidad, but if you want to link up with Dr. Nash, when you contact Richmo Media, we'll be able to link you to Dr. Nash on any health issues and any health concern. And he's also into training people about medical missionary. So if you're also interested to learn things as she's presenting to us, there's an opportunity there for you. And when you link up with Richmo Media, we will be able to contact her for you. And every Monday in Ghana, it will be 11 p.m. and in UK 12 p.m. She always handles some health issues with the topic let's talk health. Let's talk health. And that one too, you can be able to link up to her and listen to a lot of things concerning health. So, Dr. Nash, we thank you for today, and we know after the presentation we will link up to get another free time. She's very busy, so if she's giving us more than an hour, it means she loves you, the viewer, and she loves you, the listener, and it's because of how heartless and selfless she is. That's why she has found time for us. So let's practice whatever we have learned today for it to be meaningful. Dr. Nash, before we end the presentation, any take-home message for viewers and listeners? Thank you.
Yeah, I want to encourage everyone to practice healthful living. It takes effort on a daily basis. You may wake up in the morning, you have good intentions, but you just do not take yourself out walking or just do not take the time to prepare your meals. And the day goes on and you're busy doing everything else but taking time for you and for what you need. So seek to practice healthful living, all that we've been talking about on these programs. And as you implement that, then your life can be better. You can feel well. You will be able to have the energy and the vitality to go on and and help others, whomever you meet. Even if it's one thing that you can start doing today is by drinking more water, then just let's get doing that. By stop being sedentary and let's get moving, let's get that walking going on, then let's get into that. Start off, if your efforts may seem small, it still has an impact. At least it's one less preventable measure for stroke, for heart attacks, and other life debilitating situations. So that would be my admonishment to individuals. And then I also have a website where you can connect, and it's www dot and my name drnatalienash.com. So drnatalienash.com, simple and easy to find.
Yeah, and the children's call her Auntie Natalie. Yes, so with the children's program, that's how the children's also called her. Dr. Nash, God bless
I
you.
thank everyone
Viewers,
for attending. Yeah.
thank you. God bless our viewers and our listeners. If you have not subscribed to Richmo Media, please subscribe so that whenever we are having any program on Richmo Media platform, you'll be the first to get in hand of it. And let's remind ourselves that every Sunday in Ghana is 2 p.m. Then in the UK is 3 p.m. Health issues will come to your doorstep. So until Then same time next week on health issues. God bless us all.
Say